Welcome back to another reaction, and today we're going to look at the second piece that I've seen from Deltarune. And I got two different suggestions for this one, so we'll see if I find another banger. It looked like this is one by Lena Raine on the soundtrack. Not exactly sure if that's the way their name is pronounced, but I'm a huge fan of the Celeste soundtrack. It's absolutely fantastic. Has a few of my favorite tracks ever on it. So, you know, I'm really interested if this is going to sound quite a bit different than Toby Fox's work on Undertale and Deltarune. But yeah, I've only heard the other track that I did so far for Deltarune, and this is going to be my second one I'm seeing. It's only 2 minutes long, so we'll see if this is a shorter video. But yeah, I have absolutely no idea what this sounds like. This is Attack of the Killer Queen that, again, I believe is one of Lena Raine's contributions to the soundtrack. So I'm pretty excited. So let's check it out. Let's see. Let's do my typical listen to 20 seconds and then rewind it 10 times. All right, well, let's go. Let's go. It's like a Mega Man intro. All right, we're stopping it. We're stopping already. Let's talk about this. Yeah, just this kind of introduction here. It really does remind me of like a Mega Man stage, like Mega Man 2 or something. And feels almost like it's supposed to sound like that. I mean, it's, you know, it's a larger genre of that style of music, but just it really like screams Mega Man to me in specific. But I like how it like immediately starts with a percussion and then actually drops it before it kind of leads into the main music of this track. I think it's actually kind of cool because usually the opposite happens. Usually you add some layers of instrumentation even within the introduction before the main piece. You're oftentimes building layers, you know, 95% of the time. And certainly there's plenty of times to drop out or like reduce layers and go more subtle. But it usually doesn't happen in an intro like that. It doesn't usually like build or start up here and then within the introduction go back down to something held back, a little bit of restraint before going in. So I actually just find that interesting structurally. So let's get that first 20 seconds again. Great melody. And yeah, that cadence there is what I'm talking about. It kind of pulls back a little bit, and I like that. I mean, I feel like you hear that maybe more in like EDM or something where not every drop is like built up to. Some drops it's like you pull back first because it kind of teases you a little bit. But you don't hear it as in other things as much in my experience. I could be totally wrong, but that's just how it feels for me. But let's get into the main meat of this. And from what I remember, it sounded like it had kind of like very tangible like percussion sounds that are different from the intro. And I really love some of the sort of drum work in some of the tracks in Celeste, for lack of a better term. There's some, you know, borderline dubstep drums in which track is, I can never remember the name of it. If it's Spirit of Hospitality, I think it is, but that's one of my favorites. And so for some reason, like Lena Raine is just associated in my mind with like brilliant use of drums and percussion in game music. So like, yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what this is, but let's get into the meat of this track. Yeah, it's not that common a percussion sound. Mostly the same melody from the intro, but it's developing. Hell yeah. Yeah. Oh shit, that is so addictive. I wanted to go back, but I gotta keep listening to it. Yeah. All right, let me go back now. I want to catch this transition from the sort of monophonic melody when it goes into the parallel intervals. Okay, it's already there sooner. Yeah, it just has a little scoop up, which is just something I love on any kind of retro style music. It's so satisfying to hear those little sweeps. It just works so well with that kind of like synth. But yeah, just transitioning from that same melodic shape into being represented in these like parallel motion intervals. I guess I wouldn't quite call it like a duet or polyphonic, but just that kind of doubling of it sounds so good, so good. The synth sound is amazing. Like it sounds kind of meaty. It's thick. It's awesome. Like it really changes the timbre of the piece, and I really do like to respect like the ability to play with timbre even within pieces that are working in a what you might call a limited like technical space instrumentally. If you've seen other videos of mine, you know I'm a big fan of retro music. You know, stuff I grew up with or just go back to, stuff, you know, especially like 16-bit era music on the Game Boy Advance or the SNES. I really respect it. And I really especially respect the fact that you can do a lot with the timbre, timbre being like the sound of an instrument, like the sonic quality of it. Like you can actually create quite a variety of timbre even on something like a Game Boy Advance or a SNES, or something modern that's, you know, recreating a bit more of that retro sound. Yeah, I just appreciate when it creates that different sonic impact, and when it shifts to these parallel intervals in this melody, it kind of doubles it up. It just makes it sound so different timbre-wise. It's really satisfying, and it sort of serves the same purpose as transitioning a main melody from one instrument to another in terms of its orchestration or its instrumentation. You know, it's that you're playing that game, you're pulling that lever of saying like, well, one thing stays the same and another variable's changed, and the variable is usually the timbre, which is usually carried out through switching instrument. But sometimes it's carried out by, say, on the piano, you have a melody in a single note and then it changes to octaves. I think we've seen that in some of the Fire Emblem, and you certainly see that in a lot of piano repertoire. And that changes the timbre in a way, just having something doubled in octaves. And that's basically what's going on here, except that the quality of the synth changes quite a lot more than just being doubled. And usually for the greatest effect, that's when you entirely switch instruments. But yeah, I feel like it doesn't usually happen this way, so it feels unique. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to back up, catch that transition, listen to that section again, and then see where it goes and see... I'm assuming 2 minutes is going to be the entire loop, and it's not going to loop at like 1 minute, but we'll see. Really satisfying harmonic progression. It's almost like a Castlevania track, but a little bit meatier. Nice, even crunchier synth. Yeah, speaking of timbre changes. We're gonna drop out for a bit. Ooh. We get a nice little spooky melody, you know, we love a little spookiness. At least it fits that vibe. I sort of figured it was going to drop back and pull back at some point, since it already used that in the intro. It already played that card. So I know it has it. So just waiting to see when it's going to play that card later in the track. And of course it does. But yeah, we get like a little bit of a restrained little spooky melody. Let's hear that again. But yeah, they bring back, not only did they have the single voice melody before, turned into being doubled with a meteor synth. They, I guess you might say, triple it, or maybe just change the quality of the synth to be that kind of crunchier, more staticky synth. I actually want to back up and catch a little bit of that again, because it fit exactly what I was talking about before, of again, just appreciating the ability to play with timbre within this technical space. I think it was here, maybe? Yeah. Yeah, just a grindy sound. I also like that kind of like, instead of the notes in the synth melody being held entirely from note to note, which I guess if you want to, you could call it legato, a note being held fully to transition to the next one, meaning like a connectedness, which is pretty typical, like good practice for a melody. But it's another thing you can play with. And here it plays with it where at these sort of resolution points of these cadences, it doesn't actually hold the notes legato from one to the next. It chooses certain ones that actually like cut off partway through, and it leaves a little gap, which adds this kind of like interesting impact. It like makes the attack on the next note in the melody feel more impactful. But yeah, and it also gives a little bit of like a groove to the rhythm just to have that cut out. It makes it sound kind of syncopated. I don't know if you would say it officially is, in terms of what that term also means. But it like makes it feel kind of syncopated, even though it could be the same kind of melodic structure if it was just the notes were held one to the next. But yeah, I want to just look at this bit that I'm talking about as an example before moving on. Like there, da da da. It could go da da da. It could do that, but it goes da da da. And I guess I could have just said that some of the notes are staccato, but I don't feel like that represents that correctly. I mean, I guess there is discussion that staccato isn't meant to be like as fast as possible played and released, but rather more like a half duration, in which case it would be accurate here. But that's not really like the conventional understanding of it. That's just like sort of what it ought to mean with the term staccato, but it's not oftentimes really played that way. So I wouldn't really call it that. I would just say that these notes feel like they're played for half the duration to make it have this different rhythmic feel. And then, yeah, it does it 2 more times in this final motion. So it has the one da-da-da, and it just kind of hits it on that second of those 3 notes, and let's go. And then in the following motion, it does it 2 more times on some different notes as it comes down. And it's really cool because it shows you that, and then it does it 3 times in a short span, and it just creates a different rhythmic feel in that kind of cadential section compared to the rest. Let me hear that one more time, and then we'll move on to the little spoopy section. Yeah, give me those ghosties. Ooh, got some walking bass in it. Nice. Evolving the melody a little bit. Back to the one we know though, back home. There we go. Ooh, yeah. Yes, that was so good. Very nice. Oh, I want to like kind of look at the longer version, see how it loops. I think there is one. Maybe I'll peek at it after this. Yeah, I appreciate, I feel like there's a shout out to Celeste track in here. Let me listen again and look for it. I felt like that shape, was kind of, I think it might have been quoting a Celeste track, one of Lena Raine's other works. I'm not sure. It might just have a similar style because it's a similar composer. But I feel like it might have been a quote, especially because that's like a new melodic shape for this whole piece that comes in like the last 10 seconds. I feel like it might have just been a little shout out. I'm not sure though. I could be wrong. Musical associations are subjective and spontaneous. But I do appreciate the way it kind of closes out this loop. Just kind of some descending harmonies, kind of unique. But yeah, I really want to listen to like the last 30 seconds again. Let me go for this. guess I want to know, is the bass added here, or did I miss it before? Yeah, that's extended cadence. Yep, and it still delays it, doesn't finish up. Dun, dun, dun. And then, yeah, we get to start again. Yeah, I wanted to go back to the end of the little spooky section. Yeah, I feel like this walking bass here is new. I think it's a little bit more lost in the mix after that, just because there's so many layers. But when it enters there, it's huge, huge walking bass sound. It sounds like a walking like wood bass, not even like a synth or like an electric bass, which is really cool sound. It's not something you'd normally hear in this kind of mix. But I do want to go check like if that was there all the way from the beginning. If it was just lower in the mix, like it becomes after this first bar or two. So let me see. That's the last thing I'm gonna check. So we'll see when this starts. No, it's not. It just goes bum 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 bum. It just has repeated notes in the bass. So in fact, let me demonstrate this difference real quick. Yeah, if you can listen to the bass in the bottom, it's just the same note repeated, which is totally fine, great. Just giving that bass support. And then when this one comes in, the bass is walking. It's going across different notes. Yeah, when it enters here. Yeah. Alright, well now I gotta listen until it cadences because it's too good. Wanted to time it to see if I could experience the loop for myself here. So I think I get the idea of how it loops, which is very cool. Actually very like super noticeable loop point, and in different tracks, some of them hide it, some of them make it pretty clear when it's resuming, and this one does, which I think is actually pretty cool. Like there's no need necessarily to obscure where it loops. Anyways, that was awesome. What are my final thoughts here? I think I enjoyed this more than the last one I looked at, Fields of Hopes and Dreams. I forget what the track name is. Some of these track names are a little long. But Attack of the Killer Queen, I think this is my favorite so far from Deltarune. It's really good. I love Lena Rain. I really appreciate the layer building, the choice of having sort of two halves to the main section of this track, and making the choice to have a static bass note, just bass repeating those notes, and then really like elevating it with the motion when it comes back to that section after the sort of little spooky interlude. Yeah, it's just kind of a cool way to add a layer and add interest, and to make the latter half when it returns to actually be heightened in its intensity. Like it's not something that I've like never seen done before, but in this context, especially with that kind of like wood bass sound, it's not something you usually hear in this kind of mix, which again, I do associate with Lena Rain. Like the kind of drum sounds that were used on some of the Celeste soundtrack were also things that you wouldn't normally hear in that mix for that type of game music, with that certain sound, that kind of retro sound. So I feel like it's something Lena Rain is really good at, like figuring out how to create a more interesting like mix of timbre, mix of sound quality in these sort of retro style tracks, and it showed up here. So I really enjoyed seeing them do what they do best again here. So I think this was a great recommendation. I really liked it, and let me see, where do I want to put it on this? I do want to listen to it again. It's not chill nostalgia, that's for sure. It is not chill. It's definitely not orchestrated energy or dramatic classical or solo piano or tranquility, or not knowing what to name this Persona 2 playlist. So we're going to have to make a new one. And it's going to go here. Energetic nostalgia. And I'm going to add another label here and say Mega Man. Because honestly, that's what I think of with energetic, nostalgic music. And that's what I thought of in the intro here. So let's put this in. Deltarune. And oh my god, I've already forgot what it's called. Attack of the Killer Queen. Sorry, I'm slurring my words a little bit. I'm a bit tired, a bit sick, but that's okay. This was very fun. Damn, it's been 20 minutes already? My god, I thought this was like 10 minutes. Well, you know, you can basically 10x the length of the track that I'm listening to for my videos. You know how it is. You can just watch them like podcasts, I guess. Listen to me yap. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming to watch this reaction. I will do some more Deltarune, and a bunch of other things are coming soon. I'm going to be keeping on traveling a little bit more this month, so there will be some more breaks, but I'll get through as many as I can because I really like it. This is always a blast for me to get to just yap about music. It's super fun. So I'll see you in the next video. Until then, have a good day.